Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. This is the next highly anticipated book from best-selling author R.F. Kuang, author of Babel and The Poppy War, among others. And I have an early copy of it from the publisher, so thank you so much to them for giving it to me. And I wanted to read this early. I was really curious about it. It's pitched as sort of a retelling of Dante's Inferno, and it follows two grad students who go on a journey into hell to save the soul of their professor. And that is indeed what this is. I'm gonna say, as somebody who has read all of R.F. Kuang's books, I think this is my favorite one, and it might be her best one as well, in my opinion. It is so smart and compelling and nuanced, and there are so many layers to this book and layers at which you could read this book. This is the kind of thing where if you've never read Dante's Inferno, you're not super familiar with academia, you've never read philosophical works, for instance, I think you could pick this up and have a really fantastic story on your hands. You may not fully understand all of the references, but I think that's okay. I feel like from the context, you get enough information that it works. But then at a deeper level, if you have read some of those things, you're gonna get even more out of this book. And which I do think can be tough to do, to write a book that is both accessible enough for readers who don't have all of this context, but also layers in more depth and complexity for those who do. The other thing I'll say about this is I think she really sticks the landing in this book, and I think there is a new layer of depth to her character work in this book. Where our main character Alice feels like a more fully developed character, this is a book that is getting into the treatment of women and minorities in academia. It's also getting into different philosophies of the afterlife and offers an interesting take on what hell might be and what role religion might play in it. I don't want to spoil things. I said this was going to be spoiler free, so I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, but this book truly takes you on a journey quite literally through hell in the story, but also the main character Alice, as she's going through this journey through hell, it's also a journey into better understanding herself, her motivations, her experiences, seeing them from a different light, and coming out the other end a changed person. And I think that's accomplished incredibly well. This does deal with difficult content like abuse that gets covered up in academia and toxic work environments. It gets at the pressure that people feel to perform and the way that they act those out in these different situations. There's a lot here, and I think people who have had experience with the academic world are going to get more out of it, but you don't have to have that to pick this up. I will say it's a slow-paced book. It's not something you're going to tear through. This took me a couple of months to read. I was reading it a little bit at a time, and I think I loved it even more for doing that, but it's a really dense, thought-provoking book. And it's not that there isn't action, because there is action from time to time, but it's not something you're going to speed through. So I loved it. This is my favorite book that she's ever written. It's going to be on my list of favorite books of the year, and I am very curious to see what people think when it comes out in August. In my opinion, you can really see how she's grown as a writer in terms of characterization, in terms of really sticking the landing with the ending being great, and it's able to strike this balance of being relatively accessible while also having a lot of more archaic references in it for people who are interested in finding them. I will say it is set in an alternate version of our world where there is magic and there is academic magic. So the two characters who go into hell to try to save their advisor's soul are students of magic, that they are working on their dissertations, and they're worried that because their advisor died, if they can't get him back, they won't be able to graduate and they won't be able to get jobs, and that's a real problem. So that's part of why they decide to go into hell in the first place, to try and see if they can bring his soul back. And everything eventually kind of unravels in some very interesting ways. I can't say more than that because I don't want to spoil things, but I truly think this is an incredible book. If you liked Babel, I think this one is even better. So I do for sure recommend reading it. I'm very pleased to say that I was a fan, and let me know your thoughts. I would be really curious to hear if this is one that's been on your radar, if it's something that you're thinking of picking up. I don't think it's going to be for everybody because it is a slower paced book, because it is something that might take some time to get through. but I think a lot of people will really love it. I really loved it. It's got so much in it that I would love to talk about that is spoilery, and I'm not gonna do it, but y'all, definitely do recommend Katabasis. Let me know in the comments down below if you're planning on grabbing this when it comes out in August. I think I'm gonna need a finished copy of it because it's got these like gorgeous sprayed edges, but I am happy to have an ARC copy, and I will be holding on to this as well. If you reach this point in the video, you can either comment down below or interact by leaving a hell-related emoji in the comments down below. But curious to hear thoughts from everybody. If you like this video, it always helps if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.